The main other career option that I pursued was becoming a doctor. When I was in high school, as an upperclassman, I just started to think, oh, I want to be a doctor because you can help people and it's cool to say, like, I'm a doctor. So it's kind of like a lot of arrogant, selfish reasons really that I wanted to become a doctor for. And thankfully I had a job shadow. And this is why I love when high schoolers job shadow, because when I job shadowed doctors my freshman year, that's when I realized I'm actually not interested in what they do at all. I just like the idea of being a doctor, which is why I became a teacher instead. I wanted to start teaching when I was a freshman in college. I knew that I loved working with young people, and I actually went on this spring break trip. It was like a volunteer spring break trip that you could do through college. And just working in this Boys and Girls Club, it was called, in Chicago, it just made me realize this is incredibly fulfilling. It's like exciting. I really appreciate just the energy that young people have. And so all these things together kind of made it clear to me in that freshman year of college, I should be a teacher. I actually decided to start teaching in Cedar Springs by accident. I had never heard of Cedar Springs before, even though I grew up in Michigan. But I had just finished some time living on the East Coast, and my wife and I were expecting our first child. And so I needed a teaching job, and I couldn't get one anywhere. Like, nobody would hire me. I had, I think, 5 or 6 interviews that I failed. And Cedar Springs had a long-term subbing job. It was for Miss Holmes. And so I was able to get that job as a long-term substitute, and then that turned into a teaching job, and I've been here ever since. The reason that I wrote my first book was I wanted to challenge myself. I figured if other people write books, then it's obviously possible. So I just started to research, how do you write books? How do you get publishers to accept your book idea and pay you to write a book? So really, it was kind of just the challenge of it. It was also, my family was growing and I needed to earn some extra money. So I thought about a lot of other jobs I could do, like mowing lawns, or just like I thought about all these different jobs, and I decided, well, why not just write books for teachers to try to help teachers and challenge myself. And that's what led to really my writing career that I've had since then. Man, out of all the places that I've spoke, my favorite, it's hard to pick. I think at this point I've spoken in like 28 different states. And I would just off the top of my head say this little tiny school in the mountains in Owens Valley in California. It's like Eastern California, it's desert. The school literally had 4 teachers in the whole school. And it's just surrounded by all this beauty. And it's just obviously such a different school from Cedar Springs High School with, 40 teachers. It's just one of many crazy experiences I never thought I would be able to have, of getting to come and work with teachers who are doing the same job as me all around the country. So that's a highlight, but I really do love all of them. When it comes to balancing the heavy workload of being a teacher, but also being a writer and being a father and a husband, I think really intensely about it. So I just constantly ask myself, what's the most important things that I can be doing in each one of those areas, and what's all the stuff that can eat up a lot of time but actually isn't that important. And so for each of the areas, really, I just cut out the unimportant stuff, and I'm strict with myself. So when I leave work at 5 o'clock every day, I cannot bring work home. That's been a rule for years for me, and that just forces me to make sure that, okay, well, I've got to get my teaching work done by this time and my writing work done by this time, and then when I go home, it's full-time, dad, husband, like they get all my attention. So that's the key for me, balancing those. Oh, there's so many favorite moments with students. I mean, It's sometimes the electricity in a room when you're touching on a topic and students are participating in a really smart, like deep way. Like just last week, the students debated on how extreme poverty should be solved in our current events unit in world history. And that's just like a really powerful moment. And I love that when the students are learning and pushing themselves to new levels. But then I also just, I'm kind of a character, so I love when the kids make jokes, or when I'll say something that I didn't intend to be funny, but like everybody laughs at me. I love that too. And then I just love the one-on-one little conversations that you have in the hallway with students, or just saying hi to students in the hallway. There's a million moments that I appreciate.
Well, I think that Mr. Stewart is really funny and he makes history very fun.
Being an AP teacher is really interesting because, first of all, I'm teaching 9th graders in AP, which technically the College Board doesn't like. They don't recommend that. So I love the challenge of that. I love we're gonna go out and prove them wrong sort of camaraderie that develops out of that with my 9th graders. And then I really like the challenge that we have of trying to pass a test that nationwide, like 50% of kids pass. And I love that the test is about world history because it's a lot of stuff that my students, and before I taught the class, even me, we don't know about. So it's great. It's a lot of work sometimes, but it is great. I love that part of my teaching life. Cut.